if you have a dream of something you want to do, try it, try it, try it. It's better to try it and fail than to get to 50, 60 and have not tried it and be full of regret.
Hi, Ian. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you
to
too.
have you here at the Academy.
Thank you.
Would you mind telling everyone just a bit about what you do?
Yeah, so my name is Iain Lee. I've been a radio and TV presenter for, about 25 years. Hosted a TV show years ago called The 11 O'Clock Show. Probably the biggest thing I'm known for is I did I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here quite a long time ago. And I've also been hosting radio shows on LBC, Talk Radio, all kinds of places. And in the last couple of years, I've moved away from broadcasting a bit and moved into being a counsellor.
That's quite a journey, honestly. Your radio career has spanned various stations.
Yeah.
What is one of the most memorable on-air moments that still makes you laugh or cringe today?
There's loads of cringy ones. Ones that make me laugh. Do you know the thing for me? I tell you, okay, the one that makes me laugh the most is when I worked at LBC. I used to do the drive time show at LBC. Imagine what a different world it was. So this would have been about 2006. And we had an old woman phoned up, but she thought she was phoning a different radio station. She was trying to phone out BBC Oxford or something. She said, I phoned up because I want to do the Guess the Mystery Voice competition. And I was like, well, get her on air. So she was on the wrong radio station. She wanted to play Guess the Mystery Voice. And I just had a little clip of a TV presenter called Duncan Bannatyne. Right. And the clip was him going, my name's Duncan Bannatyne. And I kept playing it to her. And I said, so who's the voice? Oh, I don't know. Let me play it again. My name's Duncan Bannatyne. I've got no idea. And that went on for about 10 minutes. Right. And it was a little bit cruel because, we were laughing.
It's very harsh.
It was harsh. It was done in a very gentle way.
Yeah.
The early 2000s were so different. But it made me laugh. And why it made me laugh was, I think really good radio is conversation with people, whether it's very heavy stories or it's people having a laugh. She was cool with it. And that, for me, is what good radio is. And it was fun. It wasn't mean. It was very lighthearted and silly.
I think it's nice for radio presenters to have that sort of connection or that banter with their fans or their callers.
I think that's a big part of all radio, perhaps slightly more in speech. I've not done too much music radio, so I can't really comment. But it's about, I think, building up a community and allowing the listeners to trust you, that you can have a laugh, but also if they want to bring something a little bit heavier to the table, they can. Right.
Okay. Lovely. My next question, I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, was quite the adventure, wasn't it?
Wow.
What was the most valuable lesson that you took away from your time in the jungle?
Do you know what? The great thing from that was, I didn't know if my kids were going to be watching because I think they were 6 and 8, and I didn't know if they were going to be watching the show. And when I came back, they told me all of their favourite bits. There was a bit where I was 100 feet in the air and I had to do a bungee jump. Aww. And they told me how they'd recreated that and how they cheered. I get quite emotional. Yeah. They cheered when I did it because they knew I was scared of heights and they didn't think I'd do it. So it was a really good opportunity for me. I hadn't done much TV for a while before then, and my kids had never seen me. And it was a really nice opportunity to show my kids what I used to do when I was on the television. And they loved it, and they were very proud of it.
Oh, it's amazing. It's very heartwarming to hear that they kind of look up to you in that way.
Well, they think I'm an idiot now. They're 14 and 12, and they don't want to hang out with me because I think they keep giving me the L. So,
right.
Yeah. So, but for that short period.
In proper Gen Z fashion, we move.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So a little birdie told us that a prank was made on the newspaper companies after your time at I'm a Celebrity. Yes, we got the inside scoop.
Wow.
Would you like to elaborate on this story?
What happened was, so I'd been doing TV for maybe 20 years before I went in, and I was quite small fry, and newspapers were not interested in me at all. And then when I did The Jungle and I came out for about 6 months, everything I said on the air, on the radio, would be a story in The Sun or The Mirror or the stuff, everything. And I wasn't used to it. So me and my producer, whose name, I can't remember her name. It was Catherine Boyle, that was it. We thought, well, let's have a bit of fun. Let's start making up stories and seeing what they go with. So one day on Twitter, I tweeted, really sorry, guys, don't think I'm going to make the show tonight. I've fallen down a well. And then I kept tweeting updates and the fire brigade have come and got me. They've rescued me. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I made it into the studio 20 minutes late. Of course, I hadn't fallen down a well.
Mm-hmm.
But the newspapers printed it. Iain Lee falls down well. There was one little crappy little local newspaper that was trying to prove this story didn't happen. Of course, it didn't happen. So then we did another one where I had a neck brace on. I think the neck brace. We went to a hospital and we put me in a wheelchair with a neck brace and we took a picture. And then we told more stories that I'd badly damaged my head because I'd been attacked by an owl, I think it was, and had injuries, and there was a picture of me with a headband with blood coming off it. And we just kept doing that, and the papers...
More and more outrageous stories as it goes on.
And here's the lesson for anybody, any journalist. Check up on a story. Don't just, because someone's tweeted it, go, oh, it must be true. He fell down a well and was attacked by an owl. Maybe phone up and try and speak to that person, or...
To see if that actually happened or not.
Yes, exactly. But... yeah, so we used to have a lot of fun messing around with the papers then.
That is very funny. When Catherine told me, I was like, oh my God, really?
Have you seen the picture of me in the wheelchair?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's a great picture of me in the wheelchair.
After.
That may have been the owl incident with the bloodied head.
Yeah.
Looking like
And where did the owl come from?
Do you know, I cannot remember where that came from. We just used to make stuff up and have fun with it. Yeah,
prank calling back then.
Yeah, well, yeah, and you kind of had to be quite specific to make it. So if you could say, I got attacked by a bird, it was an owl. Got attacked by an owl. Yeah.
So I have to ask.
Yes.
As you've worked with my amazing teacher, Catherine Boyle, what is one of your favourite moments working together?
Is when we stopped working together was my favourite because one of my favourite moments of working with Catherine Boyle. I tell you what it is, right? And it's not in the studio. And Catherine is a very dear friend of mine, and we've worked together, gosh, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 years, something like that. And here's something you may or may not see. She can fall over without moving. She can be stood still, and suddenly you turn around, and suddenly she's on the floor, and she's just fallen over. It's the weirdest thing. I have been in restaurants with her.
Yeah.
We've just been, when you stood there waiting for a table for two, please. I'll just wait a second. And suddenly she's on the floor.
Yeah. It's
not alcohol, it's not drugs, it's not anything like that. She just cannot. This is true, by the way. I'm not making this up. I'm deliberately not
just
looking
like
over there.
Vertically.
Yeah, and then she's on the floor. It's the weirdest thing. And I really, so if you're in any of her classes, just keep watching because it will, statistically, it has to happen in this academy at some point.
Have to do like an interview of you, Catherine.
Honestly, it's absolutely true.
Okay, amazing. So I would say congratulations on growing your TikTok account.
I've got over 2,500 followers on TikTok. That's good, right?
A lot. That's really good. Honestly, for TikTok, that's really good.
For an old man on TikTok, that's good.
So you recently started going on to TikTok Lives,
yes.
right? How has that experience been in terms of being able to connect with the younger generation?
TikTok, I've only gone on it recently, and I didn't realize what a car crash it is. It's awful, right? There's so many weird people. There's flat earthers. There's all kinds of phobes. It's horrible. So I'm going to save it. And the way I'm going to save it is by doing TikTok live stream and take kind of calls. People can click and join in.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make TikTok funny. I'm going to make it wholesome. I'm going to make it safe for kids with a little bit of swearing. So has it helped me connect with young people? Nah.
No?
Because TikTok it's full of old people. I don't think, do you use TikTok?
Every day.
Do you? And are you making stuff on there or are you watching stuff?
I mean, I picked up making TikToks in 2020
Right.
and then I've just kept it going for now. I've changed my content over time, so it's a long thing. But yeah.
Have you noticed a change in what TikTok seems to be over those, 4 years?
Yeah, I have noticed a bit of a change. I think from 2020 when I started, there were a lot more trends. There were a lot more like younger people on there just doing wild stuff.
Yeah.
And now it's gone on to, it's for everyone now. It's a whole community, like for everyone. Yeah.
It is for, maybe it's just my algorithm, but I see a lot of stuff that actually, some of it I find repulsive because it's so unpleasant. But so all I'm doing on there is like every now and then doing really silly little live stream. I'm trying to make it like my old phone-in shows from the early 2000s. I did one the other night and it was, oh, it's so ridiculous. It was who's got the biggest hands. And people would kind of join the conversation. I go, right, how big are your hands?
Right.
And they would show me and I would write down a list of, okay, so that's quite tiny, and we had like a league of hands. So it's very, very silly. The world needs more silly.
Yeah, that's the type of content that we need, like, to bring back the wholesomeness of TikTok.
We need wholesomeness. It's coming from me. I'm radiating wholesomeness. I will save TikTok for you. Don't worry. Leave it to me.
We love that.
Leave it to
Gen
me.
Zs, thank you so much.
You're very, very welcome. To all of the Gen Zs out there, you're welcome.
And you've recently taken up a role as a counselor.
Yeah.
What are some of the realizations you've made over this, like, journey of self-discovery?
Well, that came through a phone call that Catherine and I took on Talk Radio one night when we had someone who had taken an overdose, taken a very serious overdose. They survived it, but they did end up going to intensive care. They died and were brought back to life. And it was actually quite traumatic for us, but that's kind of a minor part of the story.
I can imagine.
And after that, I thought, well, what could I have done differently if I'd have had some training? And that idea was percolating away. Then a couple of years later, we got the boot from Talk Radio because I'm not right-wing enough. And suddenly I didn't have a job. And it was lockdown. It's like, oh, maybe I'll learn counselling then. Yeah. And it was that. A friend showed me a course that I could do. I signed up for it. And it was a 2-year intensive course. I did that. The thing, you asked what the thing is that I've learned. I tell you the thing I've learned, and you wouldn't get it from this today, is saying less. Don't have to say anything.
Right.
My job as a radio presenter is that. But as a counsellor, it's the opposite of that. The less I say, the more the client, the person opposite me, the troubled soul opposite me is allowed to reflect on. I mean, I don't say nothing. That would be a little bit of a rip-off to charge them.
But being able to listen.
It's about creating a space where there is empathy, where there is love, and where they can be completely honest. And a lot of the people I see have never had that. Never had that from childhood upwards. So it's a learning thing for them, that they can trust someone, they can say anything, there's no judgment. And there's no judgment is the key. So the main thing I learned was to say less and listen more.
That's beautiful, honestly. I'm kind of speechless, but that's amazing.
Thank you.
So as a writer, this is a random question, but what is your favorite topic or theme to explore? And can you tell us a name of one of the names of your favorite reads?
Oh, God. I mean, I don't write too much. I tried to write a book once. Have you ever tried to write a book?
Yes, many times.
It's so hard, right? It's so much harder than reading a book.
Yeah, I get to page 3, I'm just like, I'm done.
I've tried so many times. So I write small articles and bits and pieces and stuff online. In terms of my favourite writers, in terms of my favourite fiction writer, it's a guy called Kurt Vonnegut, who I'm actually modelling a Kurt Vonnegut look at the moment with the tash. He's just great. He's kind of this slightly subversive science fiction writer who is also social satire. He's great. And in terms of... I'll give you 3. In terms of history, there's a writer called Mark Lewison who writes these incredibly detailed historical books about the pop group The Beatles. And in terms of, cast journalism and casting a sideways glance at the world, John Ronson. I think John Ronson out of those 3 would be my favourite. He started off as writing for music newspapers in the 80s and then became a TV and radio presenter, writes movies.
Yeah.
But his books, I think... and his podcasts, I think, are essential listening for anyone who wants to know what's going on in the world and doesn't want to. I was going to say that wants to question the mainstream narrative, but that makes me sound like some kind of conspiracy theorist. I just think he's a really good writer, and he asks a lot of questions that perhaps aren't asked by other people. So John Ronson would be.
So he's an outside thinker. In a way.
Yeah, very much so, and very much so, and I would highly recommend him.
Okay, cool. I'll be looking them up soon. Given your experiences in various entertainment spaces, what would your advice be for aspiring writers or presenters looking to break into the industry?
It's so easy for me to say, just do it when I've at the end of that career and I survived it and I came out the other side. When I was at school, I really wanted to be an actor. And I was told, you can't. No one becomes an actor, so why don't you become a primary school teacher? That was the alternative I was given. You can't be an actor, so do that.
Very far jump.
Yeah. And do you know what? There was a year where I was applying for primary school teaching, and thank God I failed my A-levels, because it meant I had to do them again.
Right.
And I went somewhere else to do them, and I met a teacher who said, Yeah, you can be an actor. You may not make any money, but you can do it. And he helped me look at colleges and places I could go to study. If I'd have not have had him, I'd be a primary school teacher, which is a great job.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a job I could have done very well. I certainly don't think it's a job I could have enjoyed. So anything is possible, you know. If you have a dream of something you want to do, try it. Yeah. It may not work out, but you don't want to get to 50 and go, I really wish I'd tried, you know, being a musician. I really wish I'd tried being an esports, you know, person, or I really wish I'd tried being a presenter and didn't. Try it. Give it everything you've got. You know, if you have to work a job to fund it, well, then do that and use every hour you've got. It works for some people. It worked for me. I didn't become an actor, but I ended up being a TV presenter. It's close enough, you know. So the advice is, it's better to try it and fail than to get to 50, 60 and have not tried it and be full of regret.
The Late Night Alternative covers a wide range of topics. What is the most unexpected or bizarre conversation you've had on the show and that still stands out in your memory? Two
things. One, so I was on with Catherine, we were on a station called Talk Radio, which was quite right wing, you know, it was, and we were sort of very left, woolly, kind of liberal kind of thing. And throughout the day, they'd be discussing Brexit. Brexit's a great thing. Brexit's great. And I remember, so I've got two examples. One, this guy phoned up and he didn't understand my show and he wanted to talk about Brexit. I said, we're not talking about it. I want to talk about Brexit. I want to say what a good thing it is. I said, well, we're not talking about it. So he kept saying that. I said, all right, listen, if you had to have a fight with one of the Beatles, who would you take out first? This came from there. He's like, what? I said, if you had to have a fight, he said, I'm not answering that. I want to talk about Brexit. I said, I know. But if you had to have a fight with one of the Beatles, who would you take out first? And he went, John Lennon. And that was the end of the call. And it just made me laugh so much because he was so adamant he wanted to talk about that. And I got him to talk about punching John Lennon. And the other one was, we had this old guy call up called Leslie, this really old man. And I don't really remember how it happened, but it ended up being a phone-in where people would phone up and would name a food to him. And he would either say, tastes like food, or doesn't taste like food.
Right.
It makes no sense explaining it. I can see that slightly blank look going, what? But so people would phone up and go, shepherd's pie. You go, tastes like food. Someone would phone up, toffee apple, doesn't taste like food. We got 20 minutes. No wonder they sacked us from Talk. We got 20 minutes out of that. So for me, the bits that stand out, we did a lot of mental health stuff and all of that, which is important. But for me, the stuff that stood out is the really silly stuff.
Right.
Tastes like food, doesn't taste like food. Put that on my gravestone, please. Thank you.
Things that are very comedic.
Yeah.
I need to go and look that up later.
You'll either get it and go, oh, this is great, or go, what?
20 straight minutes of this.
Tastes like food, doesn't taste like food.
So you've been involved in both radio and TV. Which medium do you find more challenging and why?
TV.
TV,
I think, is harder for me because I didn't quite know who I was on TV. I was playing a character.
Yeah.
On the first TV show I did, it was a thing called the 11 o'clock show, and I was copying someone else. I was copying a guy called Chris Morris. And I thought that's what I had to do. So most of my TV career, it's me being quite mean and quite arch and trying to be quite clever when I wasn't. Whereas radio, I learned to be myself.
Right.
So I find radio significantly easier.
Do you think it would have been better to kind of be yourself in the TV setting?
Yeah, I did a lot of things. I got a lot of regrets around my TV career because I didn't really know what I was doing and there was no one to take me to one side. Yeah. I didn't have a mentor, and I wish I did have a mentor in radio, a guy called David Lloyd. He's the reason I had a radio career for 20 years. But I didn't have a mentor in TV and I was kind of lost and I was young and, there are all kinds of, there was money and there was drugs and there was, suddenly there's a little bit of fame and I didn't know what I was doing and I kind of wasted that. Right. I wasted those years. Okay. Yeah.
Is there anything that you would have done differently then?
I would have saved my money. I really would. That's the thing. I wish someone had said, you will not be earning this money for long.
Yeah.
Bank it. And I didn't. So that's the base. I was a kid from a council estate in Slough. Suddenly people are giving me money. Oh, I'm going to spend it. So on a purely practical level, I would have banked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm on the weakest link.
I think that's something that a lot of young people need to take into account too, especially with like cost of living and things that are happening now in society.
I really enjoyed chatting.
Really
Thank you so
enjoyed
much.
meeting you. Thank you so much.